Okay. All right. Cool.
Where's my, okay. All right. Okay, yep. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here with us this evening. I am calling to order this hybrid public comment meeting of Monday, November 13th, 2023, to order. Like I said, this is a hybrid meeting, and we do have some folks on the screen with us. Hello, everyone. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so far.
Thank
I can hear you.
Thank you. Before we get started, I want to read some housekeeping rules. Public comment shall be conducted in accordance with the following procedures. Each person wishing to address the council or committee, therefore shall, upon recognition by the presiding officer, give his or her name, address, and if he or she represents a group, shall in addition state for the record the name and address of said group or organization. Shall limit his or her remarks to 3 minutes. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a body and not to any specific member of the council. Any persons making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or who becomes boisterous while addressing the council shall be forthwith barred by the presiding officer from further audience at said meeting unless permission to remain is granted by a 2/3 vote of the council members present and voting. During public comment, there shall be no debate, although council can ask questions of the person making any comments. And so we have a very long list. I am going to ask that when you please come to the podium, state your name, your address, if you're representing an organization, to state that, and to please keep your remarks to 3 minutes. We want to be fair to everyone, as we have a council meeting scheduled at 7 p.m. this evening. So without further ado, first on the agenda is Ann Gustidian. Who's going to keep the time?
Good evening. My name is Ann Goshdigian. I live at 80 Weathersfield Avenue in Hartford. I'm here tonight to address the resolution about incorporating artificial intelligence into the Hartford Public Schools. I am against it. As a proud graduate of Hartford Public Schools, as other people in this room are, I'm sure. I've looked into AI, and as a journalist, I've seen that AI has hurt the business of journalism. I read articles that have been contributed to by AI, and they have mistakes, they spell names wrong, they have all kinds of things wrong, and people read that and they think that it's news, but it's wrong. Now, to put it in Hartford Public Schools, the first thing would be the cost. I would imagine the cost would be pretty big to integrate that into the schools. The schools are in deep trouble. There's no one sitting up there who can deny that Hartford Public Schools have been going downhill for several years, and there are endemic issues. There are things that money could be better used for our students than bringing AI into the school. Here's some of the issues with AI in schools. It does not create any original thought. It stifles imagination. AI does not have empathy. AI does not have integrity. It could rely an over-reliance on technology. It obscures the decision-making process for students. It lacks transparency. It diminishes social skills and human connections. It provides misinformation, and it can develop lazy minds, letting the robot do all the work. This needs to be thought about for a long time before you take a vote. Hartford Public Schools educators and the Hartford Federation of Teachers need to be in on this conversation because this will affect them drastically. Millions have been spent by Dr. Torres Rodriguez in 8 years on hiring, and when I say millions, I mean more than 10, 20 million, hiring out-of-state companies who promised to come in and raise our graduation rates, lower our truancy rates, raise test scores. None of this has happened. In fact, they have gone down and they continue to go down. Money for Hartford Public Schools needs to be used for the benefit of students and the people who work there. And just let me say briefly, in one of the latest, and by the way, if any of you aren't aware, there's a page on Facebook called Hartford Schools Report by Walt Kenia, who attends every single Board of Education meeting. And if you want to know what's really going on in Hartford Public Schools, you need to read that. I can guarantee you that the teachers do and the union members do. But there's one last thing.
Ann, your time is up.
Well, it's just one quick thing.
Quick, please.
Sally, okay? I just want to tell you that in the latest report, Hartford Public High School at reading and math level has gone down to 33% of proficiency of what they're supposed to be at grade level. It means 2 out of every 3 kids are not cutting it. And at West Middle School, 3 years ago, they were at 47% for English language, arts, and math. Now they are down to 28% working at grade level. AI will do nothing to raise those numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to speak is Councilman John Gale. What?
Thank you, and good evening, colleagues. This is a first. I've never spoken at public comment before. My name is John Gale, and I live at 6 Cone Street. I'm here tonight to talk about 2 things. First is the importance of every person's vote. We had an election for city council last week, and as it turns out, after all the votes were counted, I won by a mere 4 votes. So don't anybody ever tell you that your vote doesn't matter. Your vote matters, especially when an election can be decided by 1 vote, and here it was decided by 4 votes. The second thing that I want to talk about is I want to sing the praises of the Registrar of Voters Office of the City of Hartford and all of the people that the Registrar's Office hires for Election Day. Everyone up there went through the election last week, so you know we have 24 polling places. They're all staffed with checkers and ballot counters and moderators and assistant moderators, and we have to get those people to work. And I believe last week many of them were still there at 2 o'clock in the morning counting the ballots. Well, guess what? Today they had to come back. Because of my 4-vote victory, state law requires a recount if the margin is within 20 votes for any 2 candidates. So today we had a recount started at 9 a.m., and most of that team was back here in that building, and they only left about a half an hour ago. And I have to tell you, it was a well-run operation. From top to bottom, they had to take 8,500 ballots, individually look at each one of them, set them then aside, run them through the scanners again, look at each ballot that got rejected by the scanners, and all of this had to be done with a team of 2 people plus observing team. So it was a little bit of chaos there, but our staff did remarkably well. So thank you, Hartford Registrar Voters Office, and thank you to all the other people that work with the Hartford Registrar Voters Office to come out and help us do these elections. Marvelous job today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And again, congratulations. Next to speak is Bridget Prince. Bridget Prince.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Council. Apologize for being tardy. First of all, congratulations to all of you for your win. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I came here to talk about the sewage overflows. We have some information. Attorney Jennings, you can come and join me if you like. Information regarding injured damages that was reviewed and detected by engineers. Two engineers, Ellsworth and Liebert, that work over the Upper Albany, Maine. And what they have discovered is that the years of the water and the raw sewage has actually done more damage to the infrastructure, to the foundations. So I'm here tonight to ask the City Council to support additional investigation so we can be prepared to go up to the legislation for the February session. Because what we're now doing is comparing the sewage overflows and the damages that is done to the infrastructure here in the city of Hartford to the crumbling foundations legislation that has been affecting a lot of the other suburban towns. The crumbling foundation is due to faulty concrete. It was specifically one or two different concrete contractors, and they were using that to build foundations of brand new houses. There was a crack in the foundations, and a lot of the people in the suburbs ended up suing the contractor, and then they brought it to the legislation, brought it to the local town committees, and it ended up becoming legislation in the state of Connecticut. These people now have the option to receive up to $200,000 to replace their foundations once they detect a crack in the foundations. And the difference with that compared to the sewage overflows, this is due to outdated, antiquated sewage and storm systems, the storm and the sewage pipes still connected, and some other factors. So I'm here tonight to ask the city of Hartford to support further investigation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next to speak is Cynthia Jennings.
Thank you so much. I'm here to talk about the crumbling foundations that happened in northeastern Connecticut compared to the crumbling foundations that we are now seeing in North Hartford. These foundations are crumbling because of the neglect of the separation of the sewage and storm water that is causing unnecessary flooding in our areas. We also have found out that when raw sewage entered into the basements of our homes, that some of this raw sewage contained COVID and other bacteria, worms, fungus, and other things. I've gone into people's homes and seen mushrooms growing out of their bathroom from the situations that are in their homes relative to the flooding. I am asking that we have parallel legislation to the crumbling foundation legislation for the homes that were that had foundation damage in northeastern Connecticut. And I'm asking the city council to support that and to follow through on it. We certainly appreciate the work that you all have done in the past and the support you've had for Hartford residents. However, these crumbling foundations are going to destroy the property value, not of just their homes, but some of you all have homes that have been flooded or questioned, had questionable things happen to it as well. So if we can have parallel legislation, we can have the same kind of legislation that the suburban towns have, and the people in this city would actually have this made available to them. We'd also like to go back to the fact that business owners in the city of Hartford should be able, if they are paying taxes to the city, should be able to claim against these the fund that has to do with their personal loss and their business losses. Some people have lost up to $20,000 in inventory from the flooding. So that is what we'd like to do, but I definitely want to see parallel legislation. We may have to set up something that's called a captive insurance company that only deals with individuals that are facing the losses from these properties and from the damage that these properties have incurred. So I'd like to thank you for what you've done in the past. I'd like you also to consider the Hartford residents and understand that they will not be able to sell their house without disclosing damage to the foundation. There are already multiple engineering studies done that actually look at the entire neighborhood that has been affected. So thank you very much.
Attorney Jennings, can I just ask you a quick question? You don't happen to know, with the crumbling foundation, you know, the existing legislation for those houses that were built with inferior concrete, is there a sunset on that? I mean, is that going to be forever? That
No, there is no sunset. In fact, I believe, how much money did they just approve? $25 million has already been approved this year for that. It's an ongoing issue, but eventually that issue will stop because the crumbling foundation the crumbling foundations came from the kind of damage that has been removed from the process. So eventually that's going to stop. But North Hartford hasn't even started to understand and talk about what's happening. And it's not necessarily only North Hartford, but North Hartford is severely affected. So we want people to know that we have infrastructure money coming into the city of Hartford. We don't need to put a highway underground if we have foundations that are crumbling that we need to spend for that money for. So we need to, when every dime of infrastructure money that comes into this city, we need to start looking at it in order to support and repair the crumbling foundations that we now have in North Hartford.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next to speak is Dr. Larry Deutsch.
Good afternoon. I welcome everyone and hope they are well. And just in case we get disconnected, it turns out that there's an internet connection that's unstable. That's what they say. And so if my words are cut off, I'll try to make it quick using a little device. This is no joke, but this is a 3-minute timer. The subject I have brought up in the past is this health and safety in the nail salons. And here's a picture of a federal publication that calls attention. I hope it's coming through. It may be backwards, I don't know. There are nail salons all over the city that should be using nail polish, which is not toxic in its vapors, but we passed an ordinance years ago to make sure that the nail salons have safety measures, namely ventilation, not just within, but to the outside, so that the patrons and the workers don't get toxic fumes constantly, which can result, as you may know by now from my prior comments, you can get cancers, you can get blood anemia, you can get all kinds of consequences from working in the environment as if, you know, you or anyone working in a small closet with fumes from cement. You're not supposed to do that because you inhale these things. And so the city now has an ordinance about 7 or 8 years ago, and it's referred to in a resolution for tonight, which I understand is on consent, and I'm immensely thankful that the city council is paying attention to this, and most of all, that the council and the health department publicize the need for good ventilation with inspectors. And if there's a problem in hiring inspectors, which I've told in the past, then with a city's surplus budget, by all means, you offer more to get inspectors who are trained or otherwise craft people to make sure there's good ventilation in these nail salons. And hairdressers also, the rates of ovarian cancer in all of them are increased 3 times. And so therefore, I'd like to praise council for that. I also think it's worthwhile drawing attention that they have not had for retirees, it's not yet, I don't think. The retirees have not had a cost of living increase in about 8 or 9 years. And the city treasurer and others have recommended that these people who have retired from city service, by all means, like so many other employees, get a cost of living increase. They deserve it, they worked for it, and many of them need it with the current inflation. So with that, and our little official timer tells us time, I hope the city council acts favorably on those 2 items. And I praise the city council president and the chair of Health and Human Services Committee for working this through, and most of all, having it posted and improved throughout the city's nail salons, just the way so many other cities do. Cities and even countries have these regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deutsch, and for the record, it was a council effort, all council members. Thank you. Next to speak is Elder Elijah Boyd. Hi, Elder Elijah Boyd, you are on mute. You have the floor to speak. Is either one?
Elder Boyd, are you on?
He's muted.
Okay, we'll come back.
Okay.
Elder, somebody call Elder Boyd. Tell him to unmute. He needs to unmute.
Okay, we'll come back to him. Paul Hartning? Harton? Okay, we can come back to him. Hubert Powell? The third? Hubert Powell the third, you have the floor. We'll come back to him. Diane Webb?
Good evening, Council. I'm standing before you this evening in reference to the renaming of Fish Fry Street in Hartford, Connecticut to Pastor Hubert Powell Way. I think we've presented this situation to the Council previously, and I'm just standing here as a registered voter of the city of Hartford to say that, or to ask and to consider that you all would consider changing and renaming that name. Pastor Hubert Powell has been in the service of being a pastor for over 36 years. He has a wide range of members at his church. He is renownedly known throughout the United States. I would hope that you all maybe have done some research on it to find out exactly who he is and what he has done for this city. He was brought up in the city. He was born and raised here in Hartford, and I find it no more than robbery than if you all would take into consideration renaming that street as Pastor Hubert Powell Way. Now, as we know, Fish Fry Street is very short. You all agree, it's very short. The street has been shortened, and it's not that long of a street where you would have to rename or change a lot of the GPS codes or anything to that effect. So I'm just standing here in steps in regards in hopes that you would reconsider renaming that street. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next to speak is Elder Elijah Boyd. You have the floor. I know that you unmuted yourself.
Yes, I don't know if you can hear me now or not.
We can hear you.
Okay. Well, just like the sister said, that last year I tried to put in for a renaming of Fish Fry Street. We put in petition and nothing was ever done because they put it off until November. And then after November, they said they would get back to us in January or early spring, which never transpired. So now we come to you again in the hope of doing this because Pastor Hubert Powell has been a pillar of the community for quite some time before his death. He has done so much for the community. He has helped out. He has started one of the largest food share pantries in Hartford, I believe. And then my thing is just that we need someone that's in the council to help us name the street, not after just because of his death, but he was in the church for over 100 years. The church was in existence for over 100 years. He's pastored for over 37 years. And he's helped so many young folks with music as well. And he's well known. I just came back from a convention and they gave some individuals plaques with his name on it. And they weren't from Connecticut. So please, help us out. Just name the street a short street, a very short street, after our own Pastor Hubert Powell. Please, we thank you.
Thank you. And now some council members want to address you. Councilwoman Surgeon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To all the members who are here regarding the Fish Fry Street, I'm renaming it, there is a process, Mr. Bird, that we need to let you know of. The resolution was sponsored, I believe, by Councilman Clark? Okay. Okay. And so basically, once we receive the resolution, it is sent to a naming committee. And on that naming committee, it's held by the mayor's office. The mayor's the one who calls that committee. So until it comes back to council for approval or rejection, we don't know anything else until it comes back to us. So I know you're here lobbying us for approval of this. I think it's, Reverend Powell, I think it's very worthwhile. As I said, it's a very, very short street. But once it's in committee, until it comes back to us, we will have to wait for it to come back to the council members for approval.
Yes, I understand that. And that's what we were waiting for, to come back to council, and they put it off until the council. It resumed in August of last year. I know because I put the paperwork through and it was before the deadline. And then it was not presented to them at that time. So they said, well, we'll present it again in November. So when November came, you guys put off the meeting, or the mayor put off the meeting. I don't know who put off the meeting, but the meeting was put off. And so when Pastor Powell's wife called, and I was there when she said that you guys had mentioned to wait until the spring. I spoke to a young lady down there at that time, and they said that they couldn't do anything about it. But yet they gave us resolution for a young lady that served in the town of Hartford for over, I think she was 90 years old, in our church as well. And they gave her resolution. My thing is, how much more do we have to go through in order to act? I mean, I understand that you guys have a meeting to go through and certain ones to go through to plan all the street names. But the thing is, this is an individual that has done so much for Hartford, who has helped out. But I recall that there was a petition put out last year to name a street after an individual that was shot. But this is an individual that's in the street, but Pastor Hubert Powell helped individuals. So, I mean, what can we really do? Do we have to wait for the mayor to come? We understand the mayor came to our church, and he spoke in our church when he was going in for election. And he said that whatever we needed, he would be there. Now we're just trying to hold him to his word. We don't ask for much. Just a street name after a very honorable young man. It's a very short street. It's not like we're asking for the whole main street to be
Mr.
named.
Boyd, and I want to be respectful to everyone. We do have 3 minutes, but I also have 2 other council members that want to address you, so I'm going to let Councilman LeBron. Go ahead, Councilman LeBron.
Yes,
No problem.
Elder Boyd, I just, by show of hands, how many folks are here on this regard?
Right here.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
on
the-
screen.
Right
So-
here. On screen.
Yeah, so the question that I have is, Elder Boyd, you kept referring to they kept telling you, they told you no, they told you there was a deadline. Can we be more specific as to who was they? Who's they?
Yes, that was the young lady that was in charge at that time. Was it Sis? If you can ask Councilman Clark, because the paperwork was turned into him, and they referred
Okay.
to her.
So, Mr. Boyd, I'm going to make this simple since we're pressing for time, and I'm happy to see a lot of residents here on this street. So the composition of the dedications committee is composed by the council president, the PDH
Right.
chair, Shirley Surgeon, the mayor, the COO, and I believe corporation counsel. So those are the individuals that sit down in committee and make the decisions if we move forward or not.
Okay.
We have been receiving various requests for street naming, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman Clark, but street naming, usually the individual would have had to pass in order for a street to be named after them. And so what's happening now is we're also getting requests for people who are still alive, so we need to look at our bylaws and change them. But you're absolutely right when you say that some individuals did get a name change for the street and others haven't. So without further ado, what I'm going to say is tomorrow I'm going to have a conversation with the mayor to see how many resolutions he has on individuals that have passed already, to see if we can get them done before this administration ends their period. Okay?
I thank you. I
You
really
have my
appreciate
word
it.
on that. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Alrighty.
Next to speak is Jonathan Henry.
Yes, I'm a deacon at Latter Rain Christian Fellowship, where my former pastor, Pastor Hubert Powell. I know you already spoke about it, but I just want to put my 2 cents in. This man has done so much. He's my spiritual father, and I feel that we're here, you know, to do something good, to get that name, get that street renamed. And I think that it should go forth and be done. That's what I got to say.
Thank you. Next to speak is Kelvin Lovejoy. Is it Brother Kelvin? Brother Kelvin Lovejoy, you have the floor.
That's Kevin Lovejoy. He's the
Good evening. Can I be heard?
Yes.
yeah.
All right. I won't take long, Madam President. I want to thank you and all of the council members. I was reading a letter that actually came from our mayor regarding further support for economic development on Albany Avenue. And in reading this information, you know, it was speaking about various projects, economic development projects that are currently underway on Albany Avenue, and that they're at various stages of planning and development. And it spoke about these different locations, 614 Albany Avenue, 270 Albany Avenue, and then there was actually one more as well along the Avenue corridor. Then it goes on to speak about $1.4 million that is going to be assigned from the fund balance, I guess, account or whatever, to support these 3 projects. I'm really addressing here because it was back in September when I'm reading all of this information that was coming out about one particular developer who's working on the Albany Avenue corridor. And I just wanted to try to find out if the issues have been cleared up regarding this particular developer? And if so, was that made public in terms of whatever the issues might have been and that they have been cleared up? I, for one, would like to see definitely Albany Avenue strong and viable in terms of economic development. And, you know, anytime that we can clear up any confusion or controversy, I think that that's in the best interest of the residents of Hartford. So I'm not going to use all of my time. Again, my interest is whether or not the controversy was cleared up. We understand that the money is there to help support the projects, but at the same time, as a resident, I'm also concerned about who is doing the work in terms of development in our community as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. William Powell? There's a full.
Good evening.
council.
William Powell, representing Latter Rain Christian Fellowship, 3200 Main Street, Hartford, Connecticut. I know the issue in which I am standing today has already been addressed, and I appreciate this time to even speak on a matter that is not on the current agenda, but we just would like to reiterate the importance and impact that my late father, Reverend Hubert Powell, has made his contributions to the city of Hartford and the world. His wife, my mother, and current pastor, Pastor Jackie, is here with us today, and we are a church, as Elder Boyd said, that the current administration has been in every time he ran a campaign, and that we would love to see this happen, not just because he was our pastor, but because of what he meant to everyone in the city and in the world. He was an amazing man of God, but I'd like to add this little tidbit. Prior to that, many of the older people have danced to his music. He was a member of the band Wood, Brass, and Steel, of which was the house band for All Platinum Records. And while they're celebrating the 50-year celebration of hip-hop, every time you hear Rapper's Delight and all of those songs, you hear Reverend Powell playing the piano. And so his contributions to music, his contributions to the city of Hartford in the Word of God, and how he represented himself and represented the city warrant him not being leveled with just someone who wants the streets named after them after their transition. And so I know we've addressed it, but I would love to see this happen, not just because he's my father, but because he was a great man and loved this city. Thank you very much for your space.
Madam
Thank you.
President. Madam President, okay, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know it's a lot. I'm just curious, for the public, maybe it's a town clerk question. The Public Dedication Committee, is that can folks attend that meeting from the public? No? All right, so just in terms for folks, I'll just make it clear, I would support that when it comes back to my council. I just want to make that clear. What I will say is what I see is a group of individuals from a church who have been told that there's a process and there's a bureaucracy and there's a red tape, and you guys just want your voice heard, but it doesn't seem like you know where your voice needs to be heard at, right? That's what I'm feeling from everyone. I hope I'm, kind of saying that. The frustration that we have here at City Council is that it's not before us. It hasn't come before us. It went through the process, and so therefore we can't vote on it. Let me make this clear. At the Public Dedication Committee, the council president is right. All those members are there. But singularly, what needs to happen, these voices need to go to the mayor, okay? Because if you get the mayor to approve it on the Public Dedication Committee, then pretty much you could get it approved, okay? I just want to be crystal clear. I don't want to provide you any red tape. I believe in utmost transparency. But I also don't believe in people being frustrated and people being told that they gotta wait and this and that and you gotta wait till this time and this time. Let me just make it clear. You go to the mayor and you tell him you want this, and you bring this, and you make noise, and you ask about the Public Dedication Committee, and you ask for it to be met, and you continue to make noise. So therefore, if it comes back at least before me, my council term ends at the end of December 31st. If it comes before me, I'm gonna vote in favor of it, okay? But the point is that until you make your presence felt and your voice heard in the proper channel, we're just gonna be going through circles. So I just want to say that to the whole church. You can clap on that if y'all want.
Next to speak is Kevin Powell.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Thank you all for this opportunity, and thank you for addressing us. I'll be short because you all have made it very clear. I am an offspring of Pastor Hubert Powell, and I'm in favor of renaming the street. Just, really quickly, I was just honored to be in Memphis last week. We are Pentecostals, and we are part of the largest Pentecostal denomination in the world, about 8 million strong. At this particular convention, there was at least 40,000 people there. And in the midst of those 40,000 people, there was an A-list artist by the name of John P. Key, who came all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina, and honored people in the midst of these 40,000 people in honor of my father. And he gave about 3 people a Hubert Powell Award of Excellence in music. I just think that's so amazing that someone from Charlotte or someone in Memphis by way of Charlotte, North Carolina would do such a thing. And here we are in Hartford. And so I'm honored that so many people were in attendance, like Ricky Dillard, Hezekiah Walker, there's a couple other names that, Donald Lawrence. These are all A-list gospel artists. If you don't know them, please look them up. They are at the top of the charts. But we were able to see them honor my father in front of all these people. So I just wanted to add that tidbit there. You all have made it perfectly clear. We will continue to have our voices heard. Thank you all for this opportunity. He was a man whose gifts and his legacy goes beyond Hartford, but his heart was for the city of Hartford. And I believe that's where I get my heart from. My heart for this city and for the people here, I believe that's part of his legacy. And like my brother said, he didn't just get here. He loved the people all of his life. He could have been anywhere else, and he served this great community until his last breath. And so I thank you for this time.
Thank you. Next to speak is Gwendolyn Ball.
Oh, Lord. Go, Gwen.
What happened?
Okay, I'm here in behalf of the same thing. The same thing, and I just want to say, in regards of my late great pastor Hubert Powell, is that, he was a wonderful, phenomenal man of God. He's changed many of lives, which he changed mine. In my past years, I did, everybody did a lot of crazy things, but with him coming into my life and being in my life over 33 years, the lifestyle that I was living, I was changed through his word, through him as being a pastor and being my leader. He just was phenomenal. He was even wonderful with the kids. They loved him. Anybody that knows him know that he was a mighty man of God, and that through his word and through his life that we looked at, it changed lives. And if somebody could change your life like that, when you lived such a bad life, well, it means a lot. It means a lot to us all. So if we can just get the name, revisit, you guys already told us that we have to go to the mayor and do all that. So we're going to do what we're going to do our part. That's why we're here. We're going to do our part. We're definitely going to do our part. And we thank you for this time that you've given us.
Thank you. Next to speak is Pamela Younger. Pamela? Okay. Annie Myers? Okay. Gina Hansley? Gina? Okay. Manny Duncan? Manny Duncan?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm here on behalf of Latter Rain Christian Fellowship. Just like everyone else has said, we know it's been addressed by the council that we need to go through the proper channels. But I just want to say that this was an item for the council last year where we was on the docket and we came just like we are now speaking on it. I don't know what happened between then and now that we're here doing it again with the denial of the street naming for Pastor Hubert Powell Jr. But I just want to say, as a brother who lived in Hartford all his life, I was a menace to the society in Hartford. And upon joining Latter Rain Christian Fellowship under the leadership of Hubert Powell, I changed my life. And I came up in the ranks in the church as a brother, a deacon, and now I'm actually the current head deacon of Latter Rain Christian Fellowship. And it would be a robbery if the council didn't do all they can to make sure that this street naming was done in the name of Pastor Hubert Powell Way, because Pastor has served this community for 37 years right here in this particular location, from Worcester Street to North Main Street, Hartford. I mean, he have hundreds of spiritual children in the city alone. He loved the city of Hartford. It is not a place where he went in this country, and he was all over the world, that he didn't state that he loved Hartford, Connecticut. And it would be a robbery for the council not to act on this. That's all I want to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next to speak is Tanaya Taylor.
Hi, Tania here. I live on 598 Farmington Avenue. Commenting on the Capital Area Systems plant on Capitol Avenue and encouraging the city to help us make the switch to clean energy. That has been a top 3 polluter in Hartford for years. Many people, Hartford is an asthma capital. Many people suffer from asthma in the city, and that was one of the causes. So, folks on this call who, have a dedication to service and, street renamings, it would be great if other issues were taken on. I struggle with health issues pertaining to the environment. Hartford, we heard earlier, is an environmental justice community with, sewage and flooding, poor air quality and poor water quality does not help the issue when it comes to environmental justice.
TJ.
In this community. I was on a few calls today, and we were, discussing like EJA and IRA funding and, extra leftover COVID dollars. And they're saying like many people from Connecticut and Hartford specifically are not trying to go after these funds. So I don't know if y'all are in touch. I work with DEEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, and Sarah Wong. So if y'all can come to these meetings to try to tap into some of those resources. Also, So Connecticut, their funders, to get the conversation going on environmental justice being an issue around like housing and other community issues and making that intersection, because we really need to be in these rooms to get these funds, because they said there's always like millions and billions of dollars that we have access to, and just nobody is going after. I know a lot of people have work to do, but there's community groups, Angela Harris, Siobhan Hamilton, and Violette. They all, do the work and want to apply for this federal funding. So I encourage City Council and other people to, go after these funds so we can get more clean air and energy, more affordable solutions that are not Eversource and not CNG, who are also polluting our air in Hartford with methane. A lot of people don't know that electricity is powered by gas. Gas is not really containable, so we're breathing this in with our stoves and with these power plants. And also, Tiana Hercules is always a city council lady in my eyes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next to speak is Parishi Smith. Parishi Smith. Okay. Is there anyone that I have not called upon that wishes to address this council body? You may come to the podium. Please state your name and address.
I am Pastor Jacqueline Powell, current pastor of Latter Rain Christian Fellowship.
Hello.
Amen. I am so glad that I don't have to say a lot because his works have spoken and the people have spoken. God bless you.
Absolutely.
Hello. I know we have 2 minutes left, so I'll make this quick. Hi, my name is Alicia D. Jenkins. I work for Sierra Club Connecticut. I am a campaign organizer. I'm based in Hartford. And to piggyback on what my colleague Tanea Taylor said about the capital area system, it is the campaign that I'm leading in the city of Hartford. And the two things that we really want with that energy plant, which has been polluting Hartford since 1988, and is lying dormant now, kind of. It heats and cools all state buildings and 15 to 18 buildings within the city. And it's causing pollution, but not as much as it did in the 80s and 90s. So what we want is to have 100% clean, renewable energy transition for the capital area system building. So that can be electric, that can be solar, that can be wind, that could be anything that's renewable. And we want green jobs for Hartford residents who are African American and Puerto Rican American, because that's the majority of the people that live in Hartford. So I ask that the city, because there's beautiful people here today, I ask that y'all can join me in this campaign to making Hartford a clean, green city. And I ask that the council help us in this campaign as well. Thank you very much.
Councilman Clark.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Thank you, because I have an interest in sustainability.
Yes.
What area are you talking about?
So the Capital Area System building is located on Capitol Ave. It's right across the street from Storian Soil, Red Rock, and the gas station that's there. Right behind that plant is a high school, it's Hartford High School. And it's been there since 1988. And last year, the governor of this great state, he purchased that building because it had been lying dormant, I think, since 2014. And he doesn't know what to do with it. He bought it and he forgot about it. So I've been challenging him to remember what he purchased and to do something with that, because they're looking to update it anyway. But they want to update it with fossil fuel and just have it be more efficient. But I think it's sustainable to do green energy. And right now I'm working with churches within the city of Hartford. I started working with the Emmanuel Church, which is on Capitol Ave, Emmanuel Lutheran. And I've just joined the interfaith community. I'm really, really new in that space, because I think this is God calling us to take care of the planet that he gave us. So I think this is bigger than Hartford, but I think it starts in Hartford. I hope that answered your question.
Is there any funding attached to this?
I believe that there is, but the Department of Administrative Services have been shadowy about it, to be nice. We've asked about movement forward, and they just don't know what they're doing. So, which is why I have goals, and which is why I like to keep their feet on fire.
So I have a suggestion for you, since you mentioned about the Interfaith Alliance. There are other churches, such as Latter Rain, that may not be connected to that, but they also connected to other faith coalitions, such as the Greater Hartford IMA. So my suggestion would be reaching out to all of those entities, because sustainability is real. As you know, clean energy is real. So as the Eversources bills are increasing, this is something that we can actually help to save our communities on their bottom line dollar.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I think this can bring jobs and money, more money into the city that can benefit the Hartford residents.
Absolutely.
That's my firm belief. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, I want to thank everyone who came out and spoke today at public comment. With that said, this meeting is adjourned. We're going to take a 5-minute reset break before we start our council meeting at 7, that's scheduled for 7. So a 5-minute break. Thank you.